In this video, we're doing a deep dive on OpenAI's Operator, the first AI agent that they've put out into the market. Let's have a look through the scenarios, look at this CUA model they're talking about, and look at some of the security issues that they've raised during the live stream. I'm Dave. Let's get into it. So let's pick this live stream apart. And what we're talking about is Operator. It's a AI agent. It's their first AI agent, actually, that they've put together to allow you to interact with various websites. So what they've set up is a system where you still use chat prompts the way you would in ChatGPT+. And when you start off, there's a bunch of sample prompts that can get you started, or you can type your own. So we've got here dining and events, we've got delivery, and we've got shipping. And associated with a lot of these are websites that they're designed to work with. Now, the first example they went into was OpenTable, and this was an online platform for restaurant reservations. And what happens is that you select, in this case, OpenTable, and there's some sample prompts that come up for it, or you can start typing your own. And the one they typed in is book me a table for 2 at Beretta tonight at 7 p.m. So what that did was search for a booking for Beretta at 7 p.m. Now, when it came through, the answer it gave was incorrect. And the reason for that is that it didn't match the location that they were operating at. But it automatically corrected, and the reason it did that was one of the things that you can set up with the Operator system is custom instructions. And you can see here that they've got any queries that need it, and so that's based off context, would say, I live in San Francisco, zip code is 94110. And so what happened with this particular custom instruction is that it auto-corrected inside of Operator to go, well, we must be in this particular location, and it redid the search again. Now, the interesting thing about the custom instruction is that the change, selecting San Francisco, is happening pretty automatically during the conversation. So there's no human involvement here. It just happens after reading that particular information. Then it starts asking questions about whether we need to proceed. So the first thing is 7:45 a good time for a reservation? They say, yeah, that's great. Let's go with that. But now we need to confirm the reservation. So the next thing it asks is, should we do it? They said, let's do it. Now, by this time in the live stream, I was pretty convinced that this is going to be an amazing piece of technology when it's available. So I'll reiterate that at the moment, it's only available for pro users, not plus users like myself, and it's only available to people in America at the moment. I'm in Australia, so that's a bit of a problem for me. Let's move forward, because the next example they gave was Instacart. Now, this is a grocery delivery and pickup service that they've put together. And what was really interesting about this particular example was that they were using image-based prompts to get started. So let's have a look at the uploaded image, and we can see here that we've got a grocery list. It starts with eggs and spinach and other items, and they're just asking, can you buy from this list? Now, the interesting thing here is they've also said they want a particular shop called Gus, and they've also selected Instacart. And what happens after that is that Operator starts interacting with the Instacart website. Now, before Operator does any serious interaction with Instacart, the first thing it does is come up with a plan of action. And then it asks the user if that's something they want to work with. And they say, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go with that. So it's now being accepted. At this point, it starts interacting. It's clicking on drop-down lists here, and we can see that it's typing in information about eggs. At this point, they segued into CUA, computer using agent. And this is the underlying model that they're using for the Operator AI agent, and it's based off the GPT-4o model, but it also has all the capabilities of understanding how to interact with a user interface. And they also use extra prompts going on to validate and check things that are going on. When we look later on at the mitigations that they've put in place, this will make a little bit more sense. But one of the things I was a little confused with when I was looking into this was that in the transcript in the video, it was all spelt with a KUA. And when I was looking that up, that was coming up with the idea of keyboard, user interface, and actions, which seems to make sense, but that's not actually what it is. I gotta love Perplexity. I put my query in there and it said, no, this system within OpenAI is computer using agent. So they went back to looking at the Instacart example and just showing it working through the chat that's on the left. So it was clicking on the drop-down list, typing in search. Once it did that, it found the items. It would then go and select different items. There were points in this where they used HITL, or human in the loop, and this is allowing the human to take over at any point, adding items to the cart manually if you want to. But at one stage, you can then go back to the agent, and so the human gives control to the agent. But when they do it, they can tell the agent what actually happened. And one of the things to be aware of is that when you're in human in the loop mode and you're controlling the navigation, it won't be recording the screen at that point. We'll talk about that a bit later as well. So this prompt from the user, I added another egg, gives a little bit of extra context to operator. It's allowed to then move on. It's going to the checkout, starts going into the payment options. But at this point, it needs to now hand over access back to the user so that they can complete the transaction. Now, the live stream was also a live demo, and problems can happen in a live stream. And this is when we start looking at StubHub. So this was an online marketplace for tickets to events, and it started off quite well. It said, can you get me a ticket to the Warriors under $500? And we're using StubHub. And one of the things that happened straight away is it came up with StubHub.com is blocked. So this was really interesting because at that point, it gave the ability for the human to take control. They were able to click on this particular button here and realize that the issue was that it needed to use the HTTPS version of the website rather than HTTP. So they did that. After that, the website came up and they were able to let operator know what to do next. And that was a pretty simple thing. All set, let's just keep going. Now with the human request for what tickets to go with, it's able to move on automatically into the finalize payment section. But at this point, this was where take control happens. So you click on this button, you're now in human interaction mode. And at this point, you've got session privacy. So with that, the recording's turned off. If you want to type in anything dangerous, you can. It's not going to be recorded back to OpenAI that way. Now with that, the payment selection is going on. They've put in their credit card. And then the last thing is handing control back to operator. Now they've just said, I'm all set, thanks for the help. But this is where we saw in the previous food delivery system where you could say, I added eggs, or if there's any other information you want to give it, you can do it here, or returning control to the operator. Now, this next example was really interesting because it was the tennis booking, and all they've said is, I want to find a tennis court to go to in my local neighborhood. So they haven't specified a website or anything like that. So you can see here that they've got a prompt for booking a tennis court, but let's break down the prompt a bit. The first bit is what? St. Mary's Tennis Court. After that, where? We've got SF. So it's not saying San Francisco, but remember, we do have our custom instruction giving a bit of hints there. And then the next thing is, when is it? Available tomorrow morning. And then there's a little bit of a time frame going on, ideally a 1 hour time slot. From that point, it starts searching the internet and it's coming up with information about St. Mary's Tennis Playground. And from there, we've got the reservation details kicking into place. In that point, the human can jump in and pick a schedule. So with this, it's just once, please. And that was the end of this session with the booking being confirmed. The next example was really interesting on how it used the custom instruction to interact with the website. So we're looking at Thumbtack, platform for finding local professional services. And we've just got a very simple prompt. And there's two basic areas. What is it? House cleaning. And when is it? Next week. So from that point, it's derived certain information from the custom instruction that we saw before, and then it's gone into interacting with the Thumbtack website. From there, it's automatically filled in house cleaning and 9410 and allowed the user to move on from there. The next example allowed us to look at a complex prompt. So here we're looking at DoorDash, online platform for restaurant reservations. And we start off with this prompt and we can see there's a lot of information going in here, but if you break it down, the what is 10 medium-sized pizzas. After that, where? Goat Hill, again, based in San Francisco. After that, flexible options that you might want to weave into the prompt. After that, it's conditional logic. So what happens if the actual restaurant is closed? And there is an answer to that. So if it's true, we can schedule it for the future. Now, the interesting thing about this particular prompt that's going through DoorDash is that Operator then goes and figures out a better way of wording all of that. Now, from there's also additional information we can see down below. One of them, which I find interesting in normal chat GPT plus, is just marking whether this is a good response, yes or no. I use it with the voice client all the time because it fails a fair bit. So if you've got issues with whatever it's returning, just use the thumbs up and thumbs down button. After that, you got human in the loop, so they've just replied with a yes. And from there, the normal workflow of working through the website and doing what it needs to do just happens. So at that point, we've gone through 7 different sessions, and what they included was OpenTable, Instacart, StubHub, the house cleaning, the DoorDash, and then they also talked about the model under it all, which is CUA or CUA, which stands for Computer Using Agent. Now, the last section of this was the agent safety, and this is really interesting where they're going with all of this. And they've basically split things up into 3 different concepts, whether it be human, agent, or malicious attack from outside world. So with the human one, it's basically looking at the sorts of prompts that humans can do to try and jailbreak or cause grief with different systems, and they're doing various checks to make sure that this doesn't happen. The other areas where the agent itself is just misaligned and it goes off in kind of hallucinations and those sorts of problems. So they're putting a lot of checker prompts and checker systems in place to make sure that neither of these happen. The last one, which I think is incredibly interesting, put an area into this to check that the website that the agent is playing around with is not trying to get it to buy something that the user didn't really ask for. So that's my analysis and deep dive into the new product by OpenAI Operator. I truly think this might be a game changer. People throw that word around, but this is going to be a very interesting project when it becomes available to everyone. Anyway, I'm Happy Dave. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.